Hello everyone, back into today's second video. We're doing GWV Sunday Round-Up for today's second video. So this is going to be your Sunday afternoon eclectic mix of this and that. We're going to be looking at things like sea surface temperature anomalies, solar activity, ENSO, the SOI, AO, NAO, and weather for next week, 10 days, and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. And I'll talk you through the Sunday Roundup very shortly. Just say that first video released today was the 9th summer 2020 update. So we've got a bit of an ENSO special for this one, looking at analogues for ENSO and also looking at the oceans as well. So it's quite an interesting watch. That video we place on the summer updates page with a written summary, just going over everything that we discussed in the video. And I'll get that at you at GWV.com sometime this evening, probably around 8 o'clock, something like that. I'm going to be live streaming from 5, so we're going to have a live stream. I'll embed it into the homepage at GWV's and also share it on the social media accounts as well. So we're going to be taking your questions, of course, with that one, and we'll be looking at the latest observations. We won't be seeing the ECM ensembles for this video because I haven't updated yet the Icelandic Met Office, so we'll be including those within the live stream. And we will also have the latest analogues update from Peng for the winter of 2020-21. You'll see what Peng's analogues are forecasting for this coming winter in the live stream. So that will be quite an interesting watch indeed. That's from 5 o'clock. As I say, I'm going to embed that around our social media accounts and on the homepage at GWV. If you want to get involved in the discussion, then you'll need to go through to YouTube and get involved in the chat there. Right then, so let's start off then with your pictures. So for this first part of the study round, I'm going to set this aside. I've decided for your weather pictures. So this first sort of 5 minutes of study roundup will be for weather pictures. If you'd like to have your weather pictures featured within the videos, then all you need to do is email us at gazweathers@gmail.com with those pictures, or share them with us on our social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatnot. And we're very, very happy to feature your pictures within the first section of the Sunday Roundup. So this one sent through a week ago by Mark Kanish, showing dampness in the Wirral. It's a pretty cloudy and damp morning up there in Irby in the Wirral. Wasn't long for the sunshine return though. This one from Sheerarm, showing blue skies over Sedgley. This was earlier on in the week when we had those fabulous blue skies, but also pretty chilly mornings as well. But the sky definitely a deeper shade of blue at the moment without so many aircraft in the sky. So really fabulous blue skies there in Sedgley. Of course, the price that we paid was with the frost. So this one from Liam Kenwood down there in Maidstone, showing a frosty sunrise. So yes, you can see the frost silhouetting on the grass as the sun comes up over a field in Maidstone. So really, really cold nights, of course, earlier on in the week did quite a bit of damage. This frost, don't you think that's delicate? Hopefully we're over the frost risk now, but it certainly looked very, very pretty down there in Maidstone as the sun came up. Savvy went down to Colwyn Bay for the first time in a few weeks last night and took this picture of the Irish Sea. So nice, relaxing looking evening down there, up there in Colwyn Bay. And this one's sent through by Andy, showing his dog Domino in the sunshine. Domino enjoying the sunshine. I think Andy's in Shropshire. So Andy's dog Domino enjoying the sunshine in Shropshire. Domino looking very, very happy to be in the sun. And we had a few shared with us on our social media, Twitter account as well. So this one from Simon's Weather Photography, showing sunset over sunset in Great Yarmouth over the River Bure. And again, you can see fabulous looking colours with this one, really, really vibrant colours as the sun sets a couple of days ago over Great Yarmouth. So thank you, Simon, for sharing those with us. This one from our good friend James Ackrill, showing a solar halo up in Lincolnshire. Here we go, a little bit closer. You can see how that solar halo is going very nicely around that tree. So thank you, James, for sharing that one with us. Got a couple more that I can show you as well. This one also from James, showing the current sky a couple of nights ago over his farm in Lincolnshire. So pretty cloudy, ominous looking sky, really very moody looking picture, that one. And then I saw this one as well, which is quite a nice picture that we'll finish off with, if I can find it. Let's see if I can find it. Maybe I can't find it. So, there we go. This one from Lee Moody, showing his little princess picking strawberries to go over Weetabix and honey a couple of mornings ago. So, I'm not sure what Lee's little princess's name is, but looks like she's enjoying herself picking strawberries to go over Weetabix and honey a couple of mornings ago. So if you would like to have your weather pictures featured within, a big thank to everybody by the way for sharing those. If you'd like to have your weather pictures featured within the opening segment of GWV Sunday Round-Up, and all you need to do is email them to us at gwv@gmail.com or share them with us on our social media pages, and we're always happy to feature those weather pictures in videos when we get a little bit of time. Thank you everybody for sharing those pictures. Right, so moving on with video, and we're going to start off with solar activity. So this is how the solar disk is currently looking on our side of this day from solarham.net. Devoid of sunspots again. We have a blank solar disk. There's no visible sunspots to be seen, so therefore solar activity is at very low levels, and we're expecting it to remain at very low levels for the next 3 days, as reported by Solarham. Moving on to the GWV Solar Activity Tracker, which has been updated by a good friend James Ackrill, updated to yesterday, the 16th of May. This is how things are currently looking. So remember a little while ago, was it last week, that we saw these quite large spikes, or the week before? So we did have a little bit of an uptick around the start of the month, end of April, beginning of May, to have a little bit of an uptick in solar activity. But since then, we have been flatlining away. The orange line depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity, and you see how that orange line, really since like around the 3rd of May, that orange line has just been flatlining away on the bottom of the chart. So about around 2 weeks without any visible sunspots. So that means that our trend lines, which are the thick green and thick red lines, they are more or less on the floor of the chart as well. And yes, we continue to be well and truly locked into solar minimum. You see how we still get these long stretches lasting several weeks or even months at a time, really, without any sunspots. I believe there may be a sunspot coming soon, the solar cycle number 25, belonging to solar cycle number 25. But at the moment, solar activity is really reduced at a very, very low level indeed. This one's sent through by a good friend, Richard Short. This is showing spotless days and the current spotless stretch. So for 2020 so far, we've had 106 days without any sunspots. That is 77% of the year, deep solar minimum. And that goes along with 2019, with the whole of the year, of course, having 281 days without any sunspots. That again was 77% of the year. The last solar minimum for a calendar year was 2008 and 2009. Those 2 years, again, very, very deep solar minimum for solar cycle 23-24. Those 2 years had 73% of the year without sunspots in 2008 and 71% of the year without sunspots for 2009. So the solar minimum we've had for 2019 and now in 2020 is actually deeper than the previous solar minimum. There was quite a bit of stuff in the media a couple of days ago talking about how the sun has gone into lockdown and what the effects of that could be, going forward. So quite interesting that this solar minimum. It's actually a little bit deeper than the last solar minimum, and that was a very, very deep solar minimum indeed. And this sort of implies that as we move on into solar cycle 25, we will go into solar cycle 25 for too much longer. Of course, as we move on to solar cycle 25, that's likely to be quite a reduced solar cycle as well. So, yes, we'll be keeping a very close eye on solar activity over the next few weeks and months and years. Of course, big thanks to James and Richard for sending that data through. Moving on to sea surface temperature anomalies. So this is how the oceans are currently looking. So, or were looking last week. Did last week's Sunday Round-Up. Got our 3 areas of interest. We've got the ENSO region just here, of course. We've got the Northern Pacific over here. We've got the North Atlantic over there. So that's how the oceans were set up when we did last week's GWV Sunday Round-Up. I can show you the latest chart. Remember, these charts will probably be disappearing quite soon. NOAA is in the process of moving over to a new version of the sea surface temperature anomaly maps. But whilst we can still keep showing you these, we will continue to do so because they're what we're really used to. So, again, last week through to this week, let's deal with the ENSO region first of all. So we have a very, very slight and weak signature of a weak La Nina there through the central part of the equatorial Pacific. Has that sort of cooled down any further from last week? I think it has actually. That has got a little bit more widespread and perhaps a little bit colder over the past week through that central part of the ENSO region. It still looks quite warm over towards the Peruvian side, interestingly. So this is more of a central based slight La Nina signature that we have there. It's very, very weak at the moment. Certainly not strong enough to have any sort of overall impacts on our weather, but it's just something that we're going to be keeping an eye on over the next few weeks, the next couple of months, see whether we do in fact shift into a La Nina or whether we stay at ENSO neutral. Of course, the summer analogues today all about this, so possible impacts between ENSO neutral or a shift to La Nina through the summer. So have a look at today's first video if you'd like to do that. Going into the northern part of the Pacific Ocean, so again, let's find where we are. So I think we're just there. So no, we're just there. There we go. So that's last week. So again, moving forwards to this week in the northern part of the Pacific Ocean this time. So we're looking at this sort of area here. Moving through to this week, we can see that actually things have warmed up again slightly in this northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean. So yes, continue to warm up up there. We're losing the cold and average sea surface temperature anomalies up there. And then over in the North Atlantic, again, that's how things were looking last week in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean. Through here, going through to this week, that's how things are looking. So the tropical Atlantic remains quite warm. And we have already got a tropical storm, by the way. More about that in a moment. But the tropical Atlantic looks quite warm. This could well be telling us that we can have quite an active hurricane season. Going further northwards, colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies seem to be gathering around here, like off the eastern seaboard of the United States. And then going northwards into the northern part of the Atlantic, like south of Greenland. Still a little bit on the cooler side there, but gradually things appear to be warming up. Got quite a cold Norwegian Sea at the moment as well. If we come over here, you'll see that the Norwegian Sea is looking quite cold. So that's indicative of what's been a cold spring across Scandinavia. Very, very delayed spring, particularly the northern parts of Scandinavia. And that continuous cold air pulling out of the Arctic has really cooled the Norwegian Sea down quite a lot. So be keeping a close eye on the oceans, of course, over the next few weeks and months. So, as I just said, we have got our first tropical storm of the season. The tropical storm season actually doesn't begin officially until the 1st of June, and it runs until the 30th of November. So this is very, very early days, but here it is. We've been talking about this in videos over the past couple of days. A disturbance area has been around Florida. That's pushed northwards to the north of the Bahamas, and is now a named tropical storm. This is Tropical Storm Arthur, our first tropical storm of the season. Arthur is giving maximum sustained winds of 40 miles per hour, with a minimum central pressure of 1,006 millibars, and it's moving north-northeast at around 9 miles per hour. This is the forecast track of Tropical Storm Arthur. So the current position is just here. This is all from the National Hurricane Centre, of course. Current position is just there. Looks like Arthur is going to give a bit of a glancing blow to the Carolinas, particularly the coast of North and South Carolina, just here through the course of tomorrow. So on the coast there, things could get pretty wild, I think, tomorrow, from tonight and tomorrow, in the far northern coast of North Carolina, and then of South Carolina, and then more widely along the coast of North Carolina. It does look as though Arthur will give quite a glancing blow as it sort of pivots northwards and then northeastwards in that sort of direction through the early part of next week. By the time we get through to the middle of next week, Arthur is back to a subtropical storm in the Atlantic Ocean. So very, very early days to be seeing tropical storms appear. We had this last year, I think, and then everything went very quiet through the early and middle part of the summer. It wasn't really till sort of August and in September that things really ramped up with last year's hurricane season. But I've got a feeling this season is going to be more active than last season. Last season was an active hurricane season anyway, but I think this could be like a hyper season. So it'll be interesting to see what goes on. But very, very early days to be seeing tropical storms forming in the tropical Atlantic. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that in the coming weeks. Moving back to like ENSO in terms of sea surface temperature anomalies, and this is the SY, this is the Southern Oscillation Index. Remember, the SY is just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state. It's not driving anything in its own terms. It just tells us what the atmosphere is doing. When the SY is in its negative phase, then the atmosphere in the Southern Pacific Ocean will be reflective of El Nino. When the SY is in its positive phase, then the atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina. And to get these events going, be they either El Nino or La Nina, you really need the ocean and the atmosphere to sort of couple up together. So we can see that over the past few days we have had quite a bit of positivity actually of the SY, and that's probably the reason that sea surface temperature anomalies are cooling quite quickly in the central part of the equatorial Pacific Ocean. We could be shifting towards a La Nina phase. Around the 6th, 7th of May, the SY was still quite negative at -10 and -11. These numbers are all preliminary, by the way, but they don't tend to change all that much. And these two columns just here are the air pressures that we're measuring from Darwin to Tahiti. So quite negative with the SY around the 6th and the 7th of May, but then by the time we get through to the 9th of May, we actually go quite positive at plus 10.44. The 13th of May is coming in at plus 15.26, really quite positive indeed, very reflective of a La Nina type atmospheric state. 14th of May at plus 8.90, and then the 16th, and of course they're ahead of us in Australia, so the 17th of May coming in at 12.66 and 11.51 respectively. This is enough to be lifting up the 30-day SOI average. That's this red line just here, so you can see how back around the middle part of April the SOI was down here, really quite negative. But now, around the 17th of May, the SY is actually lifting up to plus 3. So going from -5 to plus 3. That's quite a significant movement of the SY 30-day average. And so, yes, it could well be that the atmosphere is beginning to shift into more of a La Nina type phase. That could be actually beginning to connect with the ocean. The ocean then will probably cool down further, and we could be starting to move ourselves in towards a La Nina. That's certainly what the CFSV2 has been predicting all the way since January. So if this does come off, if we do have a La Nina setting up, then it'll be hats off to CFSV2 as the first model for Siemens. CFS is still going for a La Nina, albeit a weak one. So our temperature anomalies are on the side of the chart here. Dates in monthly periods are on the bottom. Remember, all important number is 0.5, whether that's above or below average. You have to be half a degree or more above average to get an El Nino. You have to be half a degree or more below average to get a La Nina. You have to run that over 5 tri-monthly periods. So where we are right now is gradually dropping with the SOI. So we're going to be somewhere around here. And you can see how the black dashed line is not with the SYFC, so the temperature anomalies. You can see how the SST anomalies are around ENSO neutral at the moment, but the CFS-V2 ensemble mean, the black dash line, is forecasting us to be just about reaching landing your thresholds by the time we get through to July, and then going just a little bit under half a degree below average. It's a weak event. It's a weak landing you're being forecast by the CFS-V2. A few weeks ago, CFS was sort of down here with its forecast, going for a rather strong event. Now it looks like it's back off towards a weak landing event, but still nevertheless getting us into a weak landing year through the course of this summer. Moving on to Eurasian snow cover. So, of course, things very quickly, rapidly now thawing out across Siberia. So, we've still got some snow cover up across northern parts, northeastern parts of Russia and Siberia. However, very quickly now, that is receding away. But quite a lot of snow cover still left over, particularly northern parts of Scandinavia, but also some southern parts of Norway, still with some snow cover there. So it has been a cold spring, a delayed spring across Scandinavia. I think we should start to see things warming up and thawing out there in the next few days. Of course, we will continue to see the snow cover eroding away from Siberia as well. In terms of Arctic sea ice, which is indicated by these yellow colours just here, that also is gradually melting, as you'd expect, as we move into the summer. So this is showing the current Arctic sea ice extent. This is where we currently are for the Arctic sea ice extent for 2020. We're just there. If I put in our averages, so let's put in the most recent average, which is 2011-2019. We're very much on a par with our most recent 10-year average for Arctic sea ice extent. We're below the 2001 to 2010 average, well below the 1991 to 2000 and 1979 to 1990 averages. This Arctic melt season will bottom out somewhere around here, probably sometime around the early part of September, and we'll be keeping a very close eye on it over the next few weeks and months. This is the QBO, so this is the latest in terms of the QBO. This is showing the easterly and westerly phases of the quasi-biennial oscillation. So this is like westerly QBO. This blue area here, blue and green, is the easterly phase of the QBO. Bit confused what's happening with the QBO at the moment. We should be now going quite well into the easterly phase of the QBO. It's still struggling to get going, this easterly QBO. We still continue to have these raggedy, sandy colours here around 30 HPA. So that's the ongoing leftovers of the westerly QBO, because we were in the westerly QBO through much of 2019. So that's still sort of left over from the last phase of westerly QBO. Going lower down, we've got the easterly QBO just here, around 50 HPA. And then up in the top of the axis, so this is kind of like going into the stratospheric level up here. Whoops, my line went a bit wonky. That's like the stratospheric level up there at 10 HPA. And you can see that has got a little bit of westerly QBO at the very top of the stratosphere as well. The easterly QBO is really struggling to get going. I still think, I'm saying this every week, I still think eventually we will go into quite a pronounced easterly QBO phase. But it is certainly struggling. If we close in a little bit more on that, it is certainly struggling. And we're just not getting rid at the moment of the leftovers of the last westerly QBO phase just here. So the easterly QBO is really struggling. I still think that we're unlikely to see a failure of the easterly QBO. I still think we will go into the easterly QBO definitively as we go further on through this year. But at the moment, this easterly QBO is very much struggling to get going. Arctic oscillation observed and forecast is looking like this. So, of course, this is just an index again that's reflecting the atmospheric state. It's not driving anything in its own terms, just tells us what the atmosphere is doing. So when the AO is positive, we have low pressure up over the Arctic. When the AO is negative, we have high pressure blocking over the Arctic. So back in the winter, of course, have very, very positive Arctic oscillation. Indeed, it was an incredible polar vortex and very positive AO. Where we are right now with the AO is just here. So we're kind of weakly negative, actually. We have shifted into a very different phase through this May of the Arctic oscillation. The GFS ensembles for the next couple of weeks are forecasting that the AO initially will stay in its negative phase. As we go towards the end of May, that's this period just here, bit of scatter, so some of these GFS ensemble members keep the Arctic oscillation negative. Some of them, though, do go a little bit positive. So it's around a 50-50 split, I think, within the GFS ensembles in terms of where the Arctic oscillation goes as we come up to the end of May and the beginning of June. The NAO has also gone into a more negative phase as well. So this time we're measuring air pressure in the North Atlantic as opposed to the Arctic. So the NAO is currently just here, kind of, again, weakly negative. GFS ensembles are forecasting that the NAO is probably going to go weekly positive in the next week or so, and then dip down into weekly negative again as we come towards the end of the month. So it does look as though both of the indexes, the AO and the NAO, will probably come out weekly negative for May when we get the finalised data for it, which will be a change. It'll be the first time that's happened since back in the autumn, I think. Right, let's do a little bit of forecasting then. So we're going to have a look at the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're at Heswell in the Wirral today. So the red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Heswell. And by the way, if you would like to have your local town or city featured within this part of the videos, then again, just ask us for our social media accounts or email us at gazworthis@gmail.com. We're happy to feature your local town or city within this part of the video. I don't think we can go down to village level quite yet. But 30-year temperature average for Heswell is the red line. Temperature's lifting up, so it's going to become quite warm, actually, over the next few days. I think we'll see temperatures probably peaking around Wednesday or Thursday down in the southeast. That'll be both the upper air temperatures and the surface temperatures. And I think on the surface, we may get to around 27, somewhere like the middle of London. That's around 80 Fahrenheit, just above 80 Fahrenheit in London on Wednesday or Thursday afternoon. Then a drop in the temperature taking place at the end of the week and moving into the bank holiday weekend, but probably not for all that long. And as we go on into the following week, so through the bank holiday weekend into the following week, it looks like things could get a little bit warmer again. Coming through to the last days of May, the opening days of June, then we might go a little bit cooler. Perhaps, although you'll notice that the thick green line is lifting up here as we go into the end of May and the beginning of June. That's the operational GFS run, which I'm going to show you in a moment. It looks like for the end of May, the operational GFS this morning was a little bit of an outlier. Precipitation-wise, we see that there's plenty of dry weather coming up over the next few days, and then it just gradually gets more unsettled, really, as we move on into the closing days of May and the beginning of June. More precipitation spikes are appearing, so it's gradually beginning to turn more unsettled then. But certainly for the next sort of 5-6 days, going to be plenty of dry weather to enjoy and very warm temperatures as well. Temperature anomalies on the 17th to 25th of May coming out a little bit warmer than average, not just for the UK but through many parts of Western Europe. So we have seen a shift with these, where were significantly colder than average these anomalies a few days ago, you remember. Now we have shifted towards slightly above average temperature anomalies. Precipitation anomalies from the 17th to 25th of May, a bit wetter than average for the northwest, drier than average for England and Wales. That's how the GFS operational run is looking for Wednesday. So high pressure's in control on Wednesday, nice ridge from the Azores building up across the rest of Europe, bringing lots of dry and potentially very warm weather with it as well. That's Thursday, the high pressure just slipping a little bit eastwards. Again, winds are drawing up from the south. We could see temperatures peaking somewhere like middle of London at around 27. That's going to 80 Fahrenheit. There is a trough in the west that might kick off some thunderstorms and heavy rain on Thursday and may push through overnight Thursday into Friday. A lot of that could be in the north. I doubt there'll be much in the way of rain in the southeast corner, but we shall see. And then we go into a cooler, fresher and more showery westerly flow. And that takes us into the bank holiday weekend. And you'll see, but overall, it's not bad at all, really, on this particular GFS run. This gets us to bank holiday Monday, a week tomorrow, 25th of May. We've actually got another ridge building up from the southwest, bringing mostly dry and fine conditions back. Again, low pressures out to the northwest, possibly a little bit of cloud and showery rain up there. And then moving up to day 10. Again, as long as we keep this influence from the Azores high, the south is going to have a lot of dry weather. England and Wales will have a lot of dry weather as long as we have that extension from the Azores high. Out to the northwest, it's more unsettled with lower pressure, of course, Scotland, Northern Ireland. But for England and Wales, I'm not seeing all that much in the way of rain, especially more southern parts of the country, as long as this ridge from the Azores high keeps building up. The Azores high is looking very, very ridgy this summer. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but as we've been doing the videos over the past few days, it does look as though the Azores high is wanting to ridge into northern and western Europe, and when we see that recurring repeatedly this time of year, it can be a signal that we're going to get quite a hot summer if the Azores high continues to throw up ridges, especially if they get themselves up to Scandinavia. This ridge isn't getting up to Scandinavia. This ridge is actually across France, England and Wales. But if the ridge gets up to Scandinavian, like you get a Scandinavian high and an Azores high ridging together, then that can be a signal for quite a hottish sort of summer pattern. This is Thursday the 28th of May. Again, high pressure is over France, ridge from the Azores over France. In some parts of England, low pressure is up to the north and to the northwest. And as we run into the very extended range with this midnight run of the GFS, then we start to bring some lower pressure in from off the Atlantic. But of course, we've got a very long way out now. We're a really long way out, and that is all very speculative, of course. But GM looks like that. So lots of dry, fine, warm conditions through the middle part of the week. Could be a little bit thundery around Thursday as low pressure starts to come in from off the Atlantic, and then turn it cooler and fresher by the time we begin the bank holiday weekend. But again, we keep this influence of the Azores high just to our south-southwest, so I'm not seeing much in the way of rain down in the south at the end of the week and into the weekend. Most of the rain is likely to be in the north and the west over the bank holiday weekend. Actually, for England and Wales, this could turn out to be quite a fine and warm bank holiday weekend, I think, based on what we're seeing here. But I don't get through to day 10, which is Wednesday the 27th of May. The high pressure just beginning to pull out to our west a little bit, started to turn a bit cooler again from the northwest. And then the ECMWF is looking like that, so dry and warm and fine conditions on Wednesday. Those fine conditions continue into Thursday as well. By Friday, things beginning to break down, maybe a little bit more unsettled with the ECM today, even down in the south around Friday and Saturday. That might bring some useful rain into more southern parts of the country around Friday and Saturday. And into the bank holiday weekend, actually the ECM is looking rather cooler and more unsettled. It's not really until bank holiday Monday that the Azores high begins to start to reach back up from the southwest. But it doesn't take long. By the time you get through to Tuesday, 26th of May, just beyond bank holiday weekend, we are definitely back under that ridge of high pressure from the Azores, bringing lots of dry and fine conditions once again. As I say, the Azores high is looking very, very ridgy at the moment. It's looking like it wants to continuously be throwing up ridges from the Azores. That is one thing that we do look out for at this time of year to give us a clue about what may be happening in the summer. Let me know in the comments if you think that the Azores high is quite ridgy this year. Maybe we'll talk about that in the live stream later on. This is a precipitation type forecast based on that ECM run from tamecho.com. Showery rain up in the north today. It is quite damp in the north today. There will be more rain coming and going tonight into tomorrow. Always mostly dry and turning warmer down across England and Wales. And then through to the middle part of the week, of course, the Azores high builds up, turns us dry and warm across virtually all parts of the country through the middle part of the week. Temperatures might max out at around 27, 81 Fahrenheit sometime around Wednesday or Thursday. Some heavy showers could break out towards the end of the week. They might even be a little bit thundery. And then the ECM is quite unsettled from Friday through to Saturday sort of time, turning wet and windy through many parts of the country. Then the GFS and the GM are not as unsettled as that for the end of the week and the start of the bank holiday weekend. And then moving into the more extended range, again looking quite unsettled. It's not until bank holiday Monday but the ECM wants to build that ridge back up from the Azores high. The GFS and the GM do it much more quickly. And as we get towards day 10, then we're back into mostly dry and settled conditions once again. Finally, just have a look at CFS-V2. So these are 500 millibar hikes broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period is going to take us from the 17th to the 23rd of May. The coming week looks like it's dominated by high pressure reaching up from the southwest into the west of Europe. Low pressure is out in the middle of the Atlantic. Jet stream is doing something a little bit like that. So dry and warm, or potentially even very warm at times through the week ahead. An anticyclonic signal definitely. Going through to week 2, which is 24th to the 30th of May. Again, strong anticyclonic signals. This is the ridge from the Azores high. Looks like it's trying to build north as well. That's what I was just talking about. When you get that high pressure trying to build up towards Scandinavia, then you're setting up a big area of high pressure. Most ridges can be very stable. We probably do bring a little bit of unsettled conditions through here for a time. Around the bank holiday weekend, but again, I think overall high pressure is the dominating factor there. Week 3 also anticyclonic. This is the 31st of May to the 6th of June. Lots of high pressure sitting more or less over top of the country with that one. And then finally we go through to week 4, which is the 7th to the 13th of June. High pressure then centred over just to the north of the country. Looks like a very stable ridge, very strong and stable ridge, bringing in the wind from an easterly direction with that. Could be a little bit chilly if the wind, origins of the wind is sort of north of east, but overall that's a dry and warm signal for the second week of June. So it looks like the rest of May and the first half of June on this particular CFS run anyway, dominated by high pressure. CFS-V2 for June itself looks like that is missing the 700 millibar high, normally still going for quite a lot of high pressure. The high is a little bit to our north, so again, as I always explain with this, the danger is that this area will fill up with a trough of low pressure. If you get a trough of low pressure developing there, then that could bring a cool wet pattern to the country. But as it is, it looks like the CFS for June is keeping us mostly anticyclonic with a lot of high pressure, particularly to our north, but also to our east. Winds would be easterly. Temperature anomalies for June with CFS V2 are a little bit above average. It'll probably be a warmer month than that if it came off, and no particular signal for precipitation, as there very rarely is with the CFS-V2 monthlies. So that's it. So it looks like we're going to keep plenty of high pressure going. A little bit of interruption coming up over the beginning of a bank holiday weekend. Still a bit uncertain how quickly we'll ridge the Azores high back in. So the GFS and the GEM ridge it back in quite quickly. The ECM is more delayed. It doesn't really start to settle things back down again until bank holiday Monday itself. I think probably we go more with the GFS GEM solutions on that. And then it just looks like there'll be plenty of anticyclonic influences really through the rest of May, and they could go on into June as well. As I said, the Azores high does look pretty ridgy, I think, at the moment, and that could be a clue about where things are going into the summer. Let me know in the comments whether you think the Azores high is reaching in quite a lot, and we may discuss that in the live stream as one of the subjects we'll talk about in the live stream coming up. Right, don't forget to check out those summer analogues, and we're back from 5 o'clock with our live stream, taking questions. We shall, of course, be looking at the options on the table within the ECM ensembles from the Icelandic Met Office, latest observational data, and Patal Peng's latest analogues forecast winter of 2020-21. All that's coming live stream from 5 o'clock. That's all for now, though, and thanks for watching.